You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am Glenn the Geek in Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Jamie Jennings in Norman, Oklahoma. You're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Monday, March 23rd, episode 3910, brought to you by WERM Flooring. Good morning, horse people.
Well, we have a fun show planned for you today. One of our favorite people is returning, John Kyle, the announcer that everybody knows from around the world. He's coming back for his Where Are They Now segment. We have a bunch of random horse news, and this year's top dog breeds, Jamie, I'm going to have you guess who the top dog breeds are, and I would not have gotten this right in 100 years.
Okay.
We have
can't wait.
We have a This Day in Equine History. It's going to bring us to a controversy in 1800s London involving horses. Plus, I saw a bunch of reports on Facebook and our auditors and non-auditors alike having bad colics over the weekend. Temperature swings of, 50 degrees. You had them too, I think. And, obviously colic is something that happens. And, we're thinking about all of you. It's a horrible thing. And it's so hard to keep an eye on them right now with the temperature swings and getting out in new grass. There's a whole bunch of things going on at the same time.
They're dropping the bomb of colic reasons. Boom. Here you go. We're going to give you all of it at once.
Well, we're going to cover all of it once. In our post show today, rather than doing that exclusively for the auditors, we're going to replay an interview we did with Dr. Erin Roddy that addressed colic myths, and she also discusses changes in temperature. So we thought that this was important that we bring to you today. We did this one last year, but this is something we should listen to every year because I listened to it this morning and I went, I don't remember that. So we're just going to put it at the very end of the show. So hang around to the end of the show and we'll have that for you. Hey, a lot of people are saying with everything going on in the world today, and we all know what that is, right? That this is the end of the world. The end times are here. We're at the biblical end. And you know what? I didn't believe it till over the weekend when Chuck Norris died.
Whew.
I got to tell you, that shocked me, first of all, because you never thought Chuck Norris would ever die. And then the memes that started coming out, I think he would approve of them because there were just some classic memes. So one of them I saw was Death finally worked up the courage to tell Chuck Norris he died 20 years ago. And I got to tell you, Chuck would be chuckling at all these because he loved those memes.
I've seen interviews of him reading them, and they're so funny. The guy that Lucas did karate with forever and I kickboxed with was trained by Chuck Norris.
Really?
And when you walk by the dojo, it's a huge picture of him and Chuck together. And I did also see some memes, and so I was going to go through them real quick with you. If that's okay, I got about 4 here.
Yeah.
Death is having a near Chuck Norris experience. Chuck Norris wasn't afraid of death. Death was afraid of Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris didn't die. He replaced death. And then Chuck Norris didn't die. Heaven got Chuck Norrised. Norris. I'll say that. Norris did.
And apparently
an icon is gone.
From everything I read from his cronies, fellow actors and stuff, they all said he was the nicest guy on set. They all said they loved to work with him. There wasn't anybody who said anything bad about Chuck Norris on set. He was just apparently great to work with. So anyway, it's a hell of a year. I don't know what's going to happen now. But you know what did happen over the weekend was Road to the Horse, and I only watched a couple little bits of it, but our friend Elisa Wallace, who we were rooting for, was in last place after the first 2 rounds. There's 3 rounds, and then in the 3rd round, they do the obstacle course on Sunday to try and take these brand new horses through a challenge, and Elisa ended up coming in 2nd. She rose from 4th to 2nd after that round, and Nick Dowers ended up winning. That was like his third or fourth time winning, I think.
Are you serious? He just funds his life by just going to Road to the Horse.
The prize money. Did you see what the total prize money was? Like $125,000.
It was 100 when Tick won. Yeah. So yeah, that's amazing. 100,000.
And Elisa fell in love with her horse. Her horse's name is Windy, and she bought Windy after. So she's taking Windy home. That's always good to see. We'll get Elisa on here in the next week or two. She's getting kind of busy right now because she's also leading up to doing Kentucky 3-Day. So we'll have to get her on as soon as I can. As soon as I can get her on for 15 minutes, she's going to be a little busy for the next couple of weeks. We have another eventing story we're going to cover later about a friend of yours who did an amazing thing over the weekend. So let's do some Daily Whinnies.
From the podcast to the barn, here's some hidden birthday wishes to keep you warm. Hope it lasts all year long. Happy birthday, friends.
That's right. We have some auditor. I forgot the Winnie at the end again. Sorry, Chili.
Come on.
We have a bunch of auditor birthdays. Jen Dunn, Christina Gerald, Jessica Troop, and Laura Blankenship. Happy birthday to all of you. We hope you have a fantastic day.
See, I wait for Butters, Winnie.
Yeah,
like you.
That always messes me up.
I love that the collection of horses that I have supplied the Winnies for our sound, and my husband does a lot of the voices. This is great. It's a family event, you guys. So I just wanted to get my Daily Winnie out to the team and staff at University Animal Hospital. Homer went in for surgery today. I dropped him off. Yeah, I dropped him off about an hour ago. And you know what? It's just amazing about that dog. I have taken that dog to the vet 7,000 times. He went every week for chemo. And then every 2 weeks, he's been so many checkups. He's been going once a month to get blood work. He's been to the vet 7,000 times. Yet he jumps in the car. You put the leash on him. You rock him out, and you're in the parking lot of the vet. And he's just so happy. Oh my God, I'm going to pee on everything. And then I'm going to go inside and I'm going to be friends with everybody. And then, oh my God, wait, why are you taking me back there? I don't want to go back there. But like everything else is like super fun. Hey, bud, get on the scale. He gets on the scale. I was going to sit here on the scale. Oh my God, are you the vet? I love you so much. Everybody's so happy to be here. It's just... his spirit is just admirable. You know, you just wish to be that happy about everything. So I'm just thinking of him a lot.
Is he going to be a little gimpy after? Did they give you any warnings? Because he's getting a big lump taken out of his back leg.
Yeah, so he has the one lymph node that has been the biggest problem is getting removed. So I don't know how he's going to feel. But the good thing is a basset hound can't lick their back leg, so he will not have to wear
almost
a cone.
Anything.
The first time he had something done, when he got neutered, they gave him a cone, and I was like, why does he need a cone? He can't lick his balls anyway.
Yeah, they're kind of not the most flexible dogs. And what did he weigh in at, or are you too afraid to say?
Oh, I'll say it because he fluctuates like his mother. He has a 2 to 4 pound swing. So right now he currently weighed in at a very appropriate 60 pounds.
Oh my God.
Dude, it's better. It was a 64.
10 inches tall.
I also want to remind everybody that this dog, on all of these vet visits, I had to take him to the car and I would lift his front legs into the back seat. And then I would have to lift his hind legs in and lift those up. And he would walk into the car with his front legs, you know, and then jump up on the seat. And then one day, and I did that forever. I mean, to where my back hurts because this freaking dog won't, he's so heavy. 60 pounds. So like lift 30 pounds and then lift 60 pounds. I mean, it's crazy. So one day I had the door open of the car and that son of a gun is so excited. I was just taking Lucas to school and that dog runs up to the car and jumps in. I was like, this whole time? You are doing it?
He's just messing with you.
Yes. So now I'm like, get your butt in the car. I know you can jump in there by yourself. What do you do? And he'll jump in. And he had me snowed for like a year.
That's funny. So what are you doing with your new horse that we all know about, Amigo? What's going on? He's obviously recovering from his surgery, but are you trying to do anything with him?
I just pay vets. That's what I do. Yes. First of all, I would like to let you know he is so precious and so sweet. Like, put his head in your chest, you scratch his ears, just like one of those like super affectionate, sweet horses. Unless he sees another horse, then all his world becomes unglued. So what am I doing with him right now? I can go in the stall and we're working on picking our feet up, and I can put the halter on him, because you couldn't put the halter on him before, because when you would go to slide it up his nose, he would take his nose and like put it on the right side of his body. Like, please don't do it. Like, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Because they used pretty rough equipment with him. And now he puts his nose in the halter. He's gotten really good about that. And I can walk him out of the stall. And now it's amazing. I used to walk him out of the stall, and then he got 19 hands tall and his big giant wiener flopping around, like screaming murder, like I was taking him to the breeding shed. Now I can take him out. He whinnies once, and then I can hand graze him.
Oh, wow.
And I can groom him. And aside from his chronic walking the fence because he's tired of being by himself and there's other horses that he can see, I hose him off. So yes, 3 weeks later, I can groom him, hose him off, and lead him and hand graze him. So it's kind
That's
of a
progress,
deal.
though.
I mean, we're like kind of like
stallion.
It is crazy. I just don't know why anybody would have a stallion that wasn't like an active breeding stallion that was like well bred, because it is such an ass pain. Oh my gosh, it is the worst. It is just so much constant management. Is a stall lot, because if he came out of the back of the stall and could sniff one horse in the cross ties, and it was like this huge deal, and I'm like, oh man, like you have to be so careful all the time, and it's so annoying. So 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 days to get surgery site healed, 6 weeks to get him to have empty gas tank, and then 6 months for the behavior changes. So we're already seeing behavior changes.
Yeah, you're ahead of schedule.
I think it's amazing, but dear God, that thing is atrocious. Like, I am never cleaning that horse's sheath ever. Like, yeah, I'm taking him to the vet. Y'all do it. I'm not touching that thing. It's a monster. I mean,
have the neighbors moved yet? I'm keeping track of when exactly they move out.
Man, we were hoping. Fingers crossed. But he stopped screaming all the time now. So he's improving 200
times a day instead of all day.
Exactly. He's just trying to talk to his new friends.
James, Jennifer's horse, I got to tell you, every time you go outside and he sees a person, he whinnies. And he has this, I have to record his whinny because it's kind of a silly whinny. I have to record it one of these days because he whinnies every single time he sees a person. He's the only horse a lot of them whinny when they think it's dinner time. This horse, anytime he sees a person walk outside, he whinnies. I
wonder if that's a baby thing, because Butters does that too.
Does he?
Yes.
Because, he's 4 or something, 4.5 maybe at this point. But I don't know. We've never had a horse that did it every time he saw a human. It's like crazy.
It's so fun, right? It's so like, you're like, hi, are you talking to me?
He says hi every time. It's the strangest
oh my
thing.
God, you're so pretty. I love you too.
I mean, usually when our horses whinny, something's wrong, so we're looking, right? So James has us tricked into every time he whinnies, we look like something's like they crashed a fence. No.
Yeah, somebody's just coming, somebody's leaving.
Yep.
I don't know what's gonna. Yeah, Butters is the same way. I walk in and he trots up to the barn and whinnies, and I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much.
So, do any of you have horses that whinny like that? Let us know. Well, we had Sally on last week talking about eventing, and you asked her about Tammy Smith, who you've gotten to spend some time with, the eventer. Well, she had a good weekend.
I love that you say we're friends. Let's just back that up.
It's like I'm friends with William Shatner. Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually met her and been to her house, but it was a long time ago, and I don't think she'd remember me, but it's fine. I'm a super fan. So,
Well,
yes.
She took a bunch of horses, like 16 of them, from California to the East Coast on a 3-day trip. And she went over there to do the Settlers Run Farm Carolina International event that happened over the weekend. And are you ready for this? She won the 4-star. Now, this is FEI level. She won the 4-star on a 10-year-old Holsteiner. She won the 3-star and she won the 2-star. She won all the FEI events in one show.
That's amazing.
I think Tammy Smith you're going to be talking about in Kentucky. Let's just put it that way.
Oh God, I'm so excited. The 1 year I didn't go, she won. And so like I'm super, come on, Tammy.
Yeah, she did. She did great over the weekend. I mean, that's unusual to win. Even Boyd Martin usually doesn't win them all.
And that's what I'm hoping. Okay, this year, the winner is either going to be Tammy, Elisa, or Boyd. Come on.
There you
I don't know
go.
if they're all three riding in it, but I'm saying it now.
Also, we talk about weird things that are going to kill you in Florida. There's a new one. The cane toad. It's a large invasive species in Florida that this year has been particularly a problem. It came here, get this, and it's what we always say. It was brought into the state in the 1930s and 40s to control pests in the sugarcane fields. And now it's rapidly spread through Central and South Florida. And they're identified, get this, Jamie, they're 9 inches long. That is one big frog.
I'm sorry. Wait, like stretched out or just sitting there?
Well, sitting there, 9 inches long. They are enormous frogs.
Oh, God.
The problem is their milky white toxin that their glands secrete when they feel threatened is highly potent venom. It's a highly potent venom. If a dog bites or licks the toad, it's absorbed through their gums, causing symptoms like bright red gums, foaming of the mouth, seizures, and death within minutes. And cats too, by the way.
So we had poisonous frogs in Arizona that one of my dogs licked. I guess she found it, and I looked up, and out the window, I saw her standing there, and then her hind end just collapsed. And so I was able to get her to the emergency room because I saw it happening, and they had to run flu. I mean, she almost died from licking a toad.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just nuts. So if you see a big-ass frog in Florida, stay away from it.
Squish it!
I don't think I want to squish it either, to be honest. It's a 9-inch frog. Squishing it would be kind of tough. Maybe a shotgun.
Step on it. Don't be a wuss.
Also, over the weekend, before we get to John, he's queuing up for us right now. But over the weekend, a while back, we said... We were talking about in the show, I believe, and I've taught this all the way through doing retail, every person has a price point in their head for almost everything they buy that they're willing to pay.
Yes,
so
that's true.
A bridle, a saddle, whatever, a can of tuna.
A wedding dress, like you go in with a plan.
And you have this in your head of what the max is you're willing to pay for that. And your max is going to be, my max is going to be different, and your max is going to be different than somebody else's max for that particular product. We talked about it in relationship to gas and diesel prices. What is our max when we really start to think about traveling and how much driving we're doing and things? And we weren't sure. We didn't know what our max was. Well,
the max is like what you'll pay versus what you'll complain about, because you're still going to need it.
You're still going to need it, but you may curtail your driving or combine trips or whatever. I hit it for the first time, and I didn't even realize it till I was done pumping $5.60 for diesel yesterday.
Oh my God!
Here in Florida, and that's one of the lowest. They're expecting it to go over $6 in Florida by next week. Okay, when I drove away from the gas station, I said to myself, okay, that was my number. And I actually talked to Jennifer about we have to start combining trips because we live 30 minutes from anything. So just to make trips, it's an hour drive. So it's like, okay, so like today we have to go pick up our other truck and I'm going to stop 2 more places where I wouldn't have thought about doing that necessarily a month ago. So I think I found my number. It was $5.60.
So the guy I used to haul horses all the time, his name is Steve Agner, and he does a lot of hauling all the horse and hound horses and some he's hauled for me all over the place. So he posted a picture yesterday that he was in Burns, Oregon, and he posted a picture of the gas. In Burns, Oregon, the diesel was $6.19. What?
He had to raise his rates a whole lot.
I don't know. I can't afford to ship anybody.
It affects everything. And there's a lot of reasons for it. We all know the reasons why. I'm just discussing it hit me. That was the first time it hit me. So, and you even said before, we were talking about this before the show, that you traveled cross country when it was really high. And, it hit you the whole way across the country.
Yeah, when I moved to be with Chad, it was over $5 a gallon. I drove from Atlanta to Phoenix. And yeah, it was insane. Like, I was like, what? I was like, thank God I have a credit card because I don't have any money for this.
We'll see if it affects people's travel this summer to horse shows and things. I don't know if it will, but I don't know. It just was an observation I made when it dawned on me that that was the number. I didn't even know what the number was till I pumped it in, and it was like 15 gallons for like $80, $90 or something. Like, holy cow. All right, let's talk about WERM. Well, you know what? It is the spring, and a lot of people are taking a look at their horse trailer for the first time after winter. It's been unburied out of the snow now, and they can actually see it. And you open up the door, and you go, oh, I forgot to clean it last year. And they have to, guess what they have to do? They have to pull the mats up and clean underneath the mats. And, oh, it's gross.
Those poor people.
It's just awful. And what don't you have to do, Jamie?
You don't have to do that if you have the WERM flooring system. WERM, it stands for We Eliminate Rubber Mats. They eliminate them. There's not rubber mats in your trailer anymore. They will pour this and they actually trowel it in. It's like kind of like a rubber pieces that are all mushed together. I'm really scientific about this. All I know is like they were like troweling it on my barn floor, and I also had my trailer done, and they trowel it, and it even goes up the sides a little bit. So basically, if your horse pees or it will not go to the floor and corrode your floor. That was one of the biggest stresses I had because I had an aluminum floor, and I did not clean the mats enough, and so I was always terrified. Well, I'm like, in my head, my horse is going to be driving down the road and he's going to fall through the bottom because that's the life that I live, anxious wise. But this eliminates that. And so much less stressful. It's so much quieter for the horses. It's more comfortable. It's just all in all a lot better. So check it out at wormflooring.com. That's WERM flooring.com. It's unbelievable. You have to have it.
Join us as we chat with past guests to find out, where are they now?
Well, whether he's calling the action at the Olympic Games or providing the commentary to the Kentucky 3-day event, John Kyle stands out as one of the most recognizable and respected voices in international equestrian sports and winter sports now, apparently. He made his first appearance on Horses in the Morning in July of 2012, and he's been on a bunch of times since then, and we're so happy to have you back, John.
That's great. I'm not sure about recognizable. I think all of us British announcers sound the same.
You're unique, John. You're unique. So, John, where are you at? Where are you at now? That's the name of the segment.
Oh, well, where am I at now physically?
Yes.
I'm just passing the Dollar General near World Equestrian Center Ocala.
Oh, well, you're in my neck of the woods.
Yeah. I'm driving down to Wellington, Florida. Yes, I suppose I'm 14 years older than when we first spoke.
And we're all doing the same thing still, John. That's amazing in our worlds.
I mean, I remember meeting you for the first time at the World Games in Kentucky, and I think then I'm a little bit of an early adopter of stuff. I think around the table, I was probably the only person who knew what a podcast was.
You were the only one. The whole world of question games, you were the only one.
And then and so many podcasts come and go. I mean, I even did a few episodes of one during COVID, and here you are, rising 16 years later, still going. I mean, that's impressive. So yeah, in the meantime, I just kept talking about ponies.
Well, we have to ask you the most important question first. And how's your wife, Pippa, who's also, in case people don't know, the editor of Horse and Hound? How is she doing?
She's doing real well. I'm over here in the United States for 3 weeks at the moment doing the League of Nations at Ocala. I'm going down to do the Wellington finale week and then on to Miami Beach. And I know this all sounds very glamorous, but, as it is all work, honest. And but my wife was a little bit like, that's quite a long time to be going away for. And I was like, yeah. And I was feeling a little bit guilty until she's just arranged a last-minute ski trip, which she's back from through our front door literally 5 minutes ago. So I'm feeling so bad.
She has to do something while you're gone, I guess.
Yeah.
Is she still doing a theater over there in London?
Yeah. She will. Her very good friends of hers are working on a production of Next to Normal this very week, and she'll be going in a couple of times to help them and rounding out the audience. We're actually going to New York on our way to Kentucky. We're going to catch the Lincoln Center production of Ragtime.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question. With you flying to, Ocala and doing the League of Nations and all the things that you're doing down in Wellington, how much studying do you have to do when you're learning about who you're going to talk about? Like, is it, oh my God, I got to cram, or do you already kind of know everybody?
You would know if all of the computers and everything dropped out, or anywhere I'd kept my notes, which are in about triple redundancy anyway. I could get through a class, but I would just, you'd go, I wish I had remembered that they were 8th at Dublin or I wish I had remembered that I could read it off my document because it would have tallied well with what just happened here. The depth of the knowledge is something that is relatively difficult to carry around in your head, except when you're in the groove. I mean, I did here at Ocala, I did 3 or 4 days broadcasting for Clip My Horse. And then when it came to the League of Nations, I was quite conscious that, well, look, the public here in Ocala, they're a bit different maybe to my normal public. They are not so exposed to the high-level sports. So what am I going to tell them about? Well, I'm going to maybe tell them, obviously who's an Olympian, who maybe was here last year, who has done well this week. And I was like, I can do all that from just what's been driven into my brain by announcing it for 4 days in a row on the live stream. And I think that's probably more important than the research. The work is for sure to know what facts you have at hand. The work really is to know what facts are useful for the people you're talking to.
Interesting.
But, I wonder how much tech has advanced so much. I mean, not even just AI, but tech in general for the 20 years you've been doing this. Has it really helped you in recent years that, you can get information much more quickly than you could back then?
Yeah, I think in many ways, a lot of it hasn't changed. I mean, I remember looking at the FEI database at WEG 2010, and, it is still my go-to. The only thing that's changed is probably internet speeds. How I would collate it is maybe a little bit different. But the sources, what I find interesting is that the sources for people at other levels in the sport are improving. I talk to people now that may be in South Africa or they may be in Australia. It's like they existed, but there was no way for the public to access them online. So it's made the whole industry more open, because when you think now of buying and selling horses, for you guys here in North America has always kind of been an international business, but now you can be much more eyes open and go anywhere and have a good feel for what you're going to see and what it's done. And Clip My Horse now with its searchable, you just type in a horse's name and you can see every round that it's ever done on Clip My Horse before you ever get on a plane and maybe go and look at that horse or one closely related to it.
You know, one of the things that I always loved about the way you whether you do live streams or you're in person announcing is, you know, a lot of times you watch these events and the announcer talks too damn much. You have a good feel for how much to talk and then just when to shut up and let us enjoy it. Is that a conscious thing you think about, or is it just instinct?
I think it's one then the other then the other. I think probably if you have a good instinct for it, you will rise sort of through the ranks a tiny bit. I think you need to be very conscious of it, because there is always at some stage in your career that idea of, oh my goodness, I'm being paid to talk. I mean, dead air is, and then you get back, your instinct takes back over, and then it becomes muscle memory that you can just, you know, it happens naturally without you having to be too conscious of it. What I'm always saying to people who work with me is like, if you said something really, really clever, it's quite good to then let it breathe so the audience has time to go, oh, that was really clever. Yes, that's a light bulb for me.
Celebrate yourself. Let them celebrate you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get nervous about anything, or is it just we've been there, done that?
No, I've given this answer a few times. I think it's like going into the start box at 3-day eventing. If you're not a little bit butterflies, then you know, you don't care about it enough. You know, it's you should, and I think it's a good energy managed. It's a good energy, you know, to get you going and off the start line.
You know, I wanted to ask you this too. Winter Games. How did you get started announcing at the Olympics for Winter Games? Was that something you were always interested in or did before? Or?
So no, I actually didn't announce at all. Although I came very close. So I've been lucky enough to work for the Olympic broadcast since Rio, and I love winter sports, but I've never really worked on it. I've done some alpine announcing, but that's about it. And at the end of the Paralympic Games in Tokyo, we're very lucky in Equestrian. We get sent out to the venue, but it means I don't see the operation, which kind of fascinates me. Like I said, I'm an early adopter. I like tech. It always lets me down, but I like it. So for the Paralympic Games in Tokyo, I did the whole thing from the broadcast center. So I got to know a group of really, really interesting professional multi-sports commentators. We had really interesting conversations about the business and the craft. And at the end of it, you know, it was going to be 4 years then or 3 years until Paris. And I said to my boss, I said, look, I'd be really interested in coming to the Winter Games. I don't really understand anything about what goes on in here except commentary, but you know me, you know this department. If there's a job you think I could do, please let me know and I will come to Beijing. And I think he was a bit worried I was trying to get in as a commentator through the back door, but I got a job and I went out and did it in Beijing, which is to look after the commentators and facilitate them. And we did that, and there was a couple of little tests dangled in front of my nose of, oh, we might actually need a commentator for such and such. And I was like, had to sit on my hands and go, well, we could redeploy these three and do this and that and that. So that gave me the tick in the box, and I went back and did the same job in Milan with a team of 35 commentators across all the sports. We had a little bit of weather move in. We had a couple of people we needed to extend in contract, et cetera, and it became at the end that I moved up one place. I became the standby commentator for the closing ceremony.
Oh wow!
So, and then as I went through the preparation for that, and again really helping facilitate the three people who were the A team. And then went and sat in my lonely booth, hoping that nothing for them broke physically or technologically, because actually it was like, talk about, you know, are you nervous before you start? But that's as close as I came. I very nearly called some golf in Rio as well when I was the Olympic standby commentator for a day.
Now you know what all of the standby team members are like on the sidelines, just thinking, I may be thrown in here at the last minute. It's like. So I got a question for you. If you were ever given a blank check to change one thing about how equestrian sports are covered to make it more exciting for non-horse people, what would it be? If you were say you could do anything to change how we cover sports to make it more interesting for non-horse people, what would it be?
Probably, again, it kind of depends on who we think the audience is for this blank check production. But one of the things I think we could do an awful lot better maybe is graphical support. Equi Ratings, for instance, are producing super stats, and they're really good at trying to turn numbers into a story. But when you watch football or tennis or something, and they're talking about, time in possession, number of first downs, number of second serves advantage, it's backed up by graphics on the screen. And I think we could be much cleverer, much quicker about that to help people who learn and consume media in various different ways all get the most out of it. There's always the things about more cameras, more experienced people, bigger crews. And I think, those are kind of givens for my blank check. But I think exposition and backing up all the other ways we're trying to talk to people. So to back up what I'm saying with something they can read on screen. I was in a bar in Ocala last night, and Clip My Horse 24/7 was on in the corner of the screen of the bar with no sound.
Right.
We are slightly, it would be lovely that if you could be in a sports bar, you could look up and you go, oh, there's 10 clears so far in that Grand Prix. Where's it from? Oh, Dinar. Okay, cool.
And why aren't every TV in a bar have the subtitles on? Why is my question. They could put the subtitles on so that we could all read what they were saying, but they never do that in bars. I don't get it.
Glenn, sometimes people go to pubs to like mingle with other people.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously, it's like you go into the bar and you're asking about that, and they go, oh, we got ourselves a reader, do we?
All right, last question, and we'll let you get back to on your drive down there. Is there one historical figure you would love to have a beer with? A dead or alive?
Oh, I've never been asked that. I don't know. Churchill sounds a bit cliched, but he would be incredibly interesting. Or Wellington.
You know what's my first guess you were going to say was Churchill. That was my guess.
Yeah. But then I'm also, there's also sort of fascination with people, Xenophon for, about the horse, or the Duke of Newcastle, who, when he got exiled, went off and basically invented dressage in the Netherlands. Oh, I don't know, Glenn.
You heard him, Glenn. You heard his brain.
Stick me down for a Churchill, and I'll come back to you in 5 years.
All right. I know what he's going to think about the rest of the drive to Wellington. You can thank me later, okay? John, it's been a pleasure having you back again, and we'll talk to you again 100 more times in the next 15 years, so no problem. He has a website. It's johnkylespeaks.com. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. Well, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
No problem. We'll talk to you again soon.
You can enjoy your favorite equine videos all in one place with Ride TV, the ultimate equine streaming platform. The newly relaunched Ride TV has all the series you love, like Cowgirls and Ridiculous Ranches, plus top-tier training videos and event footage from BailRacing.com and Horse and Rider On Demand. Whether you're ready to relax with your favorite series, binge watch competition footage, or train with a world champion, subscribe to Ride TV today for only $19.99 to see where your ride takes you. Visit ridetvgo.tv to subscribe.
Well, every year the American Kennel Club comes out with its top dog breeds, and what they take a look at is registrations and, how many people register dogs and things like that to get the top breeds of the year. And the American Kennel Club has 202 breeds included in the 2025 registration statistics, 202 dog breeds. And every year they come out with this. So I'm going to have you try and guess which breeds are in the top 10. And I don't think you're going to get a lot of them.
I'm going to get all of them.
Okay.
I am going to nail this one. Okay. You're going to be shocked.
You haven't seen this, right, this year?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No, it's funny. I got the link sent to me, and I just kind of went past it because I already know what they all are. Because I'm going to tell you the first number one, and I just remember let me say that this comes from a place of a woman who has 3 border collies. Okay. So, this comes from a place of high energy, super intelligent, smarter than me dogs. Okay. Number 1, I don't get it. French bulldog. It's got to be a French bulldog.
They're number 1. I don't understand. I'm not a bulldog person. I apologize to all the bulldog people. I don't have anything against bulldogs. I just have never owned one and never wanted to. I don't know why.
But a bulldog is not a French bulldog.
No, right. But actually, they're both on the list. Number 1 is French bulldog. Number 10 is bulldog.
Well, you didn't let me guess. Bulldog. You guys, seriously? Genetically, those dogs have to be delivered by C-section.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes. All bulldogs are, I'm pretty sure Frenchies are too. But yeah, they have to do C-section because their hips are too small. Their pelvis is too small to like birth dogs.
This is their 4th year as the most popular dog.
It's crazy.
I know. It's
crazy. Okay. I've got a 3-part guess for potentially 3 dogs. I'm going to say them all at the same time. First, golden retriever, poodle, and doodles. Doodles?
Golden retriever, number 3. Poodle, number 6. So you got 2 of them. You're doing good here.
They don't breed. I wonder if like a golden doodle is AKC. Is it? It's not on the list?
It's not on the list.
Everybody I know has a dang doodle. German Shepherd.
German Shepherd's number 4. I'm surprised at the number of big dogs on this list, actually. Number 4.
Okay, so we've got Frenchie. What would be number 2? I think...
it's obvious, number 2. Just think what you see families have the most of.
I said golden retriever.
Labrador retriever.
Oh, there you go. Labs.
Yep.
And where were golden retrievers?
Golden retriever wasn't on the list.
No. It's because everybody's doodling.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Golden retriever is number 3. So it was Labrador retriever and then golden retriever.
Okay. And then 4 was German Shepherd.
What's number 5?
Let's see. You said poodle is down the list a little bit.
Number 6. Yep. So you're missing number 5.
Number 5, I would go with like the wiener dogs, dachshunds.
You're correct. It's number 5.
Seriously?
Yes. You're doing good. Everybody's yelling at their podcast player right now. Number 7.
And you know what they're yelling? They're yelling, "Oh my God, she's so smart. She's so smart. She's so right." Let's see.
Number 7 surprised me.
Chihuahua?
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
Burmese mountain dog.
No.
Those are getting more popular. Let's see.
They are actually. They've come up like 30 places on the list.
Livestock guardian dogs, which are like those either they're big white fluffy dogs. What are they called?
Oh, we have one here, barks all the time, incessantly.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it because I've tried to put it out of my head because I hear it bark all night.
Well, pit
Great
bulls.
Pyrenees. That's what
it's Great Pyrenees, and there's also like there's another breed that they mix with Great Pyrenees, which just makes them just even more crazy. So that's not on the list. Yep. But I would go with American Bully or American
Bulldogs, number 10. Yep.
Okay, yeah, but that's bulldog though. Let's see, another dog breed, Schnauzer.
No, I laughed because we hated my mom's schnauzers.
Yorkie. Speaking of mom dogs,
no. All right, number 7 on the list, the one I would not have guessed is a beagle.
Oh God! Okay, Beagle Basset Hound. Is Basset Hound on the list? I'm such a terrible dog owner.
Nope. Number 8 really surprised me because I just don't think of everybody owning these, and that's Rottweiler.
Okay.
I had one traumatic experience with a Rottweiler, so I've been prejudiced ever since.
I had a traumatic experience with a Doberman. Is that on the list?
No, but it should be.
What about the big giant dogs? Marmaduke. What's his name? What are they called? Those dogs.
Yeah.
Great Dane. God.
No, number 9 is a German short-haired pointer.
I mean, right on the tip of my tongue. No.
Which came up the list. Do you know which one dropped the most? And I think I know why. Dropped the most places on the list was greyhounds. And I think it's because greyhound racing stopped.
Yeah.
So there's just not as many greyhounds to adopt. Right now, if you're adopting a greyhound, they're being brought in from overseas, Australia or Ireland or places like that. To adopt a greyhound now, the adoption fee is $1,500. Because they have to fly them in. So I think that's why greyhound dropped on the list so much.
Whippet? Is Whippet on the list?
No. Well, it's on the list, but I don't know where. I only had the top 10. I will say that one of the dogs that rose on the list was one of the highest is an English foxhound. And actually, another sheepdog went up really high on the list, too. So sheepdogs and foxhounds and things like that are rising.
What sheepdog is on the list?
A sheepdog, the Bergamasco sheepdog. Apparently.
Obviously.
And then the one that rose the most points I've never heard of is a wire-haired Vizsla.
Vizsla.
That one gained 30 points, was the one that went up the most this year. All hunting breeds there, too. So,
Y'all are in for some exhausting ownership. I did pretty good, though. You
did pretty good. I'm surprised you got so many, actually. I did not get that many. So you're better at your dog breeds than I am.
You know I didn't read it, because if I'd have been like, the wire-haired Vizsla, obviously, you'd have been like, you cheated! I love this music.
I do too. Do you remember last week I talked about Paris having the first actual public transportation with carriages?
Yes.
Well, we're going back to March 23rd of 1861, and an American entrepreneur named George Francis Train launched London's very first tram service. His name was Train.
He really missed the boat. He called it the train service.
These were horse-drawn carriages that ran on rails embedded in the street.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, that's why the controversy, because the rails actually stuck up across the road surface, causing chaos for regular horse-drawn wagons and carriages, which is all there was back then. It was so controversial that it was shut down just a few months later, but it paved the way for what? Trains. For recessed rail tram systems that eventually took over the world. So when they first started, they had the rails above ground because nobody thought to dig a hole and do that. So now they're of course flush with the street. But yeah, so that was the first one in 1861. On this day in 2000, arguably the most famous dressage horse ever in history was born, Totilas. He was a Dutch warmblood, of course, who changed the sport of dressage, ridden by Edward Gall. He was the first horse ever to score above 90% in a Grand Prix freestyle competition. And after being sold for a record-breaking 10 million euros, he was given to Matthias Alexander Rath. And what happens after that?
Not much.
Not much. Actually, there was a big controversy because he was accused of using rollcur, and that caused a PR backlash, and PETA even filed a lawsuit, and it just was a mess after that. He did become one of the most sought-after breeding stallions in the world. His semen was sold for thousands of euros per dose all across the world, and in 2020, he died at the age of 20 due to a severe case of colic. But I still remember, I think we saw him at the World Equestrian Games in 2010. Fabulous horse. I don't know we're going to see one like that anytime soon. And then in March of 1975, March 23rd.
Okay, I'm looking. Hold on. I just Googled this. Okay. Yes, you can still buy frozen semen from Totilas. It remains available through distributors. Price about $2,500 to $3,000 per frozen dose.
And that's whether it takes or not.
Isn't it crazy though? Like seriously. Okay. Like you think about like, oh my God, $3,000. That's not even a sniff of a price to breed a racehorse.
It is true. I thought it'd be higher than that actually. And some of his babies have done very well. So, I mean, it's not like they haven't done well, but I did think it would be more than that. I was figuring 10 to 20.
Now they're saying older reports around 8,000 euros, but it's more looking like 3,000. Wow. I don't know.
We don't know how much they saved either.
I know.
We might have a lot of it, trying to get rid of it before it expires. Does it expire when it's frozen? I don't know.
Again, I don't have the answers to these questions.
In March 23rd of 1975, the legendary Alydar was born. Alydar is immortalized for his rivalry with Affirmed. In 1978, he became the only horse in history to finish second in all 3 Triple Crown races. He lost the Kentucky Derby by a length and a half, the Preakness by a neck, and the Belmont by a nose.
Okay, you remember how I was like, oh my God, we have to learn more about citation, and I did the whole book report on citation?
Yep.
I don't need to do that on Alydar. I know every single thing about him. Oh my God.
Well,
one of my favorites.
And I'm going to put a link in the show notes because we did an interview, because one of the things about Alydar was his very controversial death, and whether it was done on purpose for insurance
It was
money.
obviously done on purpose. JT Lundy is a criminal, and he died like 3 years ago, and he lived way too long for his crooked lifestyle that he did. He took down Calumet Farm. I'm sorry. Carry on.
A couple of years ago, we had Fred Kay on, the author of Broken, The Suspicious Death of Alydar and the End of Horse Racing's Golden Age. And I'm going to put a link to that episode in the show notes. That was in 2023. It was a fabulous interview. He was a great guest. So I'll put a link to the show notes, or to that particular episode in the show notes if you want to go back and take a listen to it. It really
So remember,
was a good interview.
Affirmed won the Triple Crown. And remember when Secretary ran the Triple Crown, you remember who his arch rival was?
Oh, we talked about it last week. Yeah, Sham.
Sham.
Yep.
So Sham, they're saying, was, without Secretary, it would have been the most amazing. Well, same with Alydar. They say Alydar made Affirmed who he was. And then Alydar actually won some races before and after. So he did beat Affirmed. It was just this complete heated rivalry, back and forth. But it was like every single race of the Triple Crown, they got closer and closer and closer, and never got one of the Triple Crown races, which is fantastic for Affirmed, who was amazing. But yes, Alydar then went to go stand at Calumet Farms, and that is when Calumet Farm was. So the guy who created, am I boring you? This is super fascinating. Go ahead. So the guy who created Calumet Farms named after Calumet powder. Like, he invented baking powder. So he had that whole like lineage, and he passed it on. And then JT Lundy married, it had been passed on through generations, and married one of the great granddaughters, and took over the farm. And JT Lundy had Alydar and started breeding him to like quarter horses, anybody who would pay for it. Alydar has been bred into, they were breeding like Appaloosas to Alydar. It was crazy, because he started making like deals like, hey, I'll give you a breeding to Alydar if you give me this. And he was such a philandering. I hate that guy. Anyway, so obviously they killed him for insurance money. Well, go listen to it.
Well, that wasn't ever proved. But this book was, this interview in the book was really good, going into the details, and it kind of leaves you make your own assumption at the end.
Well, and also, if you read the book Wild Ride, which was the whole story of the rise and fall of Calumet Farms, that also is one of those books that, like, they're like, it looked like a pipe hit him in the knee, so they didn't have cameras back then, but insurance. And then, I'm going to move on. You hit a button.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show. Hold on.
I have a picture of Alydar on my wall right behind me.
I didn't know I was starting this at the end of the show.
Sorry. Carry on.
Hold on. After the music's played at the end, we're going to replay the interview we did with Dr. Erin Roddy about colic myths.
It's for everybody, not just post-show.
No, this is for everybody. So if you just hold on, I'm going to put it at the very end there. So that way you can choose if you want to listen to it again or not. But it was very good, and I think it's one that everybody should listen to every year, especially this time of year. She did discuss changes in temperature and how that affects the horses and all that stuff. So, and she's a great guest and was really good at explaining it. That's why I picked hers. We've covered colic 100 times in this show, but hers was really good. So I think take a listen to that after the show is done. Before we go, though, and this ties into our dog conversation, it's National Adoption Week. It's brought to you by PetSmart Charities in collaboration with thousands of shelters across the U.S. and Canada. And what's happening this week is most PetSmart locations are transforming their stores into pop-up adoption centers. And ours does that anyway on Saturdays, but apparently it's going to be more often during this week. And they're going to bring everything in from apparently dogs and cats and rabbits and guinea pigs and the whole works. So there even waiving the adoption fees at some of the PetSmarts, and PetSmart Charities is picking them up, is actually paying the adoption fees. So you can check that out by checking out the coverage, or at your local PetSmart. Find it there, or just go to the adoption centers.
Honey, it's adoption. We got to get another one from the shelter. It's we have to celebrate. By the way, this border collie that we adopted from the shelter a few months ago, Lucas named him Link. Oh my God, it's one of the greatest dogs we've ever had.
There you go.
Wow, it's amazing. He's amazing. Aside from the fact that he goes and jumps in our pond all the time, which is like a mud pit because it hasn't rained in a year. So gross. Other than that, he's perfect.
Do you have a dog washing station outside the door? You hose him down every time he comes in. Just throw him in. And
I had that built into the house when we built the house. I was like, put a hose bib right there and like a little shower thing, and I just spray him down. But he hates it.
He probably does. All right, everybody. You have a terrific day. We'll be back with a whole week of shows. We have Riding with Solange tomorrow. We have travel later in the week. If you have weird news, send it to Jamie at horseradionetwork.com.
No, weird news at horseradionetwork.com.
Weird news at horseradionetwork.com. She likes it better there. She still gets mad at me for sending it to the wrong place. So don't let her get mad at you.
I'm not organized enough to look at many things. All right, spay, neuter, geld, and adopt. Don't shout. I am pleased to welcome to the show Dr. Erin Roddy. She is the Chief Veterinary Officer from Poseidon Animal Health, and we are going to talk today about the myths regarding colic. Hi, Dr. Roddy.
Hello. How are you guys today?
We are good. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about this because, we've covered colic, and I feel like I'm not a colic expert, but I'm a horse in distress expert because I've seen it out my window so often. But there's always certain things that people say regarding colic, and there's myths. And so what I was going to do was take my very good Oklahoma accent and present you with a myth, and you can tell me if my Oklahoma country brain has gotten them right or gotten them wrong. Can we do that?
Love it. I love that. Let's do it.
Because this is stuff like if you post something on Facebook, these are the things that you're going to see. And these are some of them, and some of them might be true. So I guess the first one that we've seen, and Glenn and I compiled this list, and I think you helped too. So the first one is, hey, only horses that eat grain get colic. Mine don't eat grain.
Absolutely not true. That is definitely not true. Yeah, we need a buzzer for this. Buzzer. Horses that eat only grass can absolutely get colic. While, there was sort of an old wives' tale, I guess we should call it, that grain would cause colic, and certainly eating rotten grain or eating anything that's different or too much of anything can be associated with colic. Colic can absolutely occur to horses that are just on pasture, horses that are just on hay, horses that just eat cubes. Unfortunately, it can happen to any horse, and definitely grain is not even the highest on my list of culprits.
Okay. Well, here's what else I heard. You don't have, if you put your horse in a stall, they're the ones that colic, because horses that live outside don't colic.
Also busted. This buzzer is getting a lot of work. That is not true. Horses that live outside definitely do colic. Being stabled is certainly a contributing factor to colic, and we do see that stalled horses colic more than horses that are outside, but horses that are outside can absolutely colic.
I was going to ask you that. I was wondering about if the percentages are higher.
They are higher in stabled horses, certainly. And I think the biggest contributor to colic, for me, in what I see is dehydration. So horses that don't drink enough. And then the next would be impaction colic. And I think one of the reasons that stabling is associated with impaction colic is because of meal feeding. So we know horses are designed to eat continuously in what we would call trickle feeding or graze feeding. When they're in a stall, that's a little more difficult, and they tend to be fed meals. So they might get grain, or they might get a few flakes of hay or even a hay net, but that's happening at a number of times through the day rather than being continuous. And so that seems to be the association, is that these horses are standing in their stall, they're getting hungry, they're getting frustrated, and then they get a meal and they eat that really quickly, which isn't what their body's designed to do. And then that meal goes wrong somewhere, whether it gets pushed through too fast or there's not enough water in the gut. And so the feed becomes impacted and can't pass. And then that can lead to the gut twisting. But it's really the meal feeding, whether it's too big of a meal or too much time between meals, that is associated with the stabling and the colic. Now, a horse outside in a dry lot can also colic just as easily because of the meal principle. But so it's not the stall, it's the meal, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of meals, there was one barn when I worked in Ohio. This was their Sunday afternoon ritual. And this is all you have to do is feed a bran mash once a week and they won't colic. It keeps things moving.
Also busted. We haven't got a true myth yet. We're 0 for 3. We struck out. So no, bran mashes do not cure colic. And in fact, I would wager that high on my list of things that cause colic is a change in diet, especially a sudden change in diet. So feeding a one-off bran mash out of nowhere is actually going to be worse for the gut than it is going to be helpful. I think where that comes from is the idea that obviously the more hydrated our horses are, the better everything passes through their system. And that probably feeds back a little bit into our outside versus inside, is horses that are on pasture are generally consuming more grass, and grass is actually mostly water. So those horses, it's easier for them to stay hydrated even through changes in temperature, because horses get into a routine of drinking, right? They drink a certain amount of water at certain times of the day. If the weather changes, their system may not catch up quickly enough, which is why, I don't know if we're going to get to this myth, I might be ahead of you, Jamie, but a lot of people will say, oh, horses colic when the weather changes. And that's true, but it's not that it's the change in weather that for some reason causes them to colic. It's that their hydration status hasn't kept up with the change in weather. So it might get cold, they're not as hot, they don't feel the need to drink as much water, but they have the same amount of feed sitting in their intestinal tract, and all of a sudden that becomes dehydrated because they haven't consumed as much water. So certainly feeding wet feeds, I think, is really important. And I'm a big fan, we've talked about before, of wet beet pulp or wet. I mean, I always wet my feeds. I like them to be pretty sloppy. Bran I would stay away from because it's actually an indigestible starch for horses that they're not designed to eat. Wet feeds for sure, but let's keep that consistent. Let's not just do it randomly.
Wow, interesting. That was number 9, by the way. So you jumped way ahead.
Sorry.
Can I throw a related one in there? So obviously their grass has a lot of moisture, and
yes,
but in the wintertime, grass is dead. So do horses tend to colic more in the winter than the summer?
You know, that's a really interesting question. It's very variable geographically. I think the biggest thing is that horses colic when there's change. So if you live somewhere like Florida, where the weather changes really quickly and you can go from one extreme to the other really quickly, you will see more incidents of colic than maybe somewhere like Minnesota or Oklahoma, where the seasons tend to come on a little slower. In Florida, for whatever reason, winter might show up one day out of nowhere and feel very extreme. And then a couple days later, it seems that summer has come back. And that really puts the microbiome out of whack and also puts the horse's hydration status out of whack. Where in other places, even that experience more extreme seasons, I mean, you might have 5 or 6 feet of snow on the ground, because those seasons come on a little slower, the horses have time to adjust. One of my big tips that I want to make sure I get out there is the cheapest form of colic insurance I think that exists is table salt. Feeding your horse 2 tablespoons of table salt every day will prevent a lot of colic because it keeps horses drinking regularly. Having that salt in their food encourages them to drink despite the weather changes and despite what their internal system is telling them. That will keep them at a level plane of hydration, and that will prevent so many colics that otherwise would happen. So that's my top tip.
You don't have to buy the expensive Himalayan or, other salts.
You do, Glenn, because it's fun to torture you, but no, the rest of us can just buy table salt. You absolutely need the expensive, organic, triple sieved Himalayan salt. I think it should come directly from the Himalayas, but the rest of us and our horses, table salt is just fine. If you want to buy
You're the first one in 15 years on the show that has mentioned table salt to the horses.
Really?
Has that ever been mentioned, table salt, before? No. It's always, electrolytes or, something else. But First one.
Table salt is just fine. And again, no more than 2 tablespoons is really necessary. If you want to feed electrolytes, and I'm certainly in places where horses sweat a lot, I'm a big fan of electrolytes replacing what is lost. I do find now that most good quality complete feeds contain electrolytes. So, you got to be careful that you're not overdoing too many things. I certainly feed my horses electrolytes here in the summer in Florida. They work, they sweat hard, but regular salt is just fine. And it does a very good job. I feed a tablespoon in the morning and a tablespoon at night in their grain, but could also go in pellets or in cubes or again, going back to our soaked beet pulp, great place to put your table salt. It just keeps horses wanting to drink. And as we know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But you can put table salt in your food, and that will encourage them to be thirsty and keep drinking, even if suddenly it gets cold and they're like, maybe I don't need as much water, even though I have this belly full of hay. And, that's another thing. As it gets cold, people throw more hay. Their horses drink less. Now we've really got a recipe for colic.
Now, Glenn, I would like to tell you that those of us that use table salt, Scooter and your wife's new horse, they need bamboo salt. Okay. Do you know what bamboo salt is?
No, I have no idea.
Salt.
It's the world's most expensive salt. It's found in Korea, $17 an ounce. This rare salt undergoes a meticulous process where sea salt is packed into 3-year-old bamboo stalks, then sealed with clay and roasted over a pine wood fire up to 9 times.
It's like the bourbon of salt.
That is what your horse requires.
Absolutely. For sure.
We're in the wrong business.
What a ridiculous thing. Just quick Google of the most expensive salt. All right.
Salt.
The next thing would be, you know what? Colic is always caused by feed issues.
Not true at all. And I would say would actually be, again, lower on my list. So really high up causes of colic is actually parasite burden in horses. So horses that are not dewormed properly and have a high parasite burden causes a lot of colic. The other one that I think people forget a lot about, which maybe goes along with feed issues, but is the cause, not the symptom, is actually dental care for your horse. If your horse's dental care is not up to date, they are not going to be able to chew and process their food properly. And so I see a lot of impaction colic because the horse didn't chew the hay well enough, not because there was anything wrong with the hay. So making sure that your horse is seeing a qualified dentist or a veterinarian that does dentistry at least once a year. And I recommend, for horses under 6 years old, I like to do that twice a year. And then once we start to see aging changes in our horses' mouths, and that can occur 14, 15, some horses it doesn't occur until their 20s. Again, I like to see those horses more than once a year, so 2 or 3 times a year, because the mouth changes constantly in a young horse and in an older horse, and we need to make sure that their mouth is doing the job that it was designed to do. If they can't chew their food properly, they definitely can't digest it properly, and that will cause colic issues for sure.
Well, I have our next one was colic is a death sentence for older horses, but I would like to tell you I have an older horse, and you talked about dental issues. So he's had so many teeth pulled that he eats, he won't eat hay anymore. He can't eat alfalfa. He'd love to. So we take alfalfa pellets and beet pulp and mash and his senior grain, and we put that in a big bucket and give it to him. And he just all day eats it whenever he wants.
What a life.
Yeah, right. But the problem with going to the dentist is, and he's between 30 and 33, and he's a draft cross, and he's amazing. And I've had to make this decision because the last time I took him in to have some teeth pulled, it was just so expensive, and it really was miserable for him. Apparently the whole thing was just incredibly painful. He was very violent in the whole thing, and I have to haul him to the vet. And I'm kind of at the point now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of like, as long as you're eating, I'm just going to let things happen, because I tried to weigh the what's it? Not the, kind of pain management versus he's still eating and I can just make this food for him. But I think
it's definitely important. Everybody's got to make a personal decision about their horse, right? And quality of life is really important. And that's where I think having a good relationship with your veterinarian and your dentist is really important, because you want your veterinarian to be able to look at your horse, this is going to sound a little harsh, but your horse is on a timeline now. Like, he won't be with us forever. So we need to look at, are the next, 1, 2, 3, 4 years of his life, is the quality of that life more important than whether we can extend that out longer?
Yeah.
And that's always what I talk to people about senior horses, is that absolutely pulling teeth is not a fun thing in a horse. Those teeth are not really designed to come out. It's not a fun thing in a person, and a horse's tooth root is much bigger and much stronger than a person's is. So absolutely, pulling teeth can be very traumatic, and you need to make sure that whoever's doing your dental work is very experienced, particularly with the senior mouth. Now, normally, and this probably has nothing to do with you, but has to do with the horse's history, if we've had good regular dental care all along our lifetime, we're less likely to end up in dire straits at the end. But that doesn't necessarily help someone who's acquired a horse at the end of its life or even in its midlife. And there's some congenital things that predispose horses to having a bad mouth. I bred a horse with a bad mouth. And the first time the dentist looked in the mouth, they were like, oh boy, this is going to be a lifetime of problems because we came out with a bad mouth. But I think it's just really being on top of that care regularly and then making considered decisions about whether extremes like pulling teeth is more important than just keeping the horse comfortable. But I guess my point was really just getting in that mouth regularly. I'm not saying you have to do anything when you're in the mouth. You certainly don't have to do anything extreme, but let's keep on top of what's going on so that we're making considered decisions. And I see a lot of horses come in with colic, and I ask when the last time its teeth were done, and the answer is, oh, I don't know. How long have you owned the horse? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And I go, well, okay, that's why we are where we are, not necessarily because you changed the feed, although that can contribute, not necessarily because the hay was bad, because that can contribute, not necessarily because of worms. But if we're not in that mouth regularly, that will become a problem. So it's just important that you remember that as part of your horse care management. And it's amazing how easy it is to forget, particularly if horses are going from a trainer to another trainer or being bought and sold. I see it a lot with thoroughbreds. They assume that the pre-trainer was going to do the teeth, or the breeder was going to do the teeth, or the trainer was going to do the teeth, or the consignor was going to do the teeth. And they can go through several barns in a couple of years, and all of a sudden, no one's actually done the teeth because they assumed somebody else did it. So I have a policy. Every horse that comes through my door, the first thing I do is look in the mouth and find out when the teeth were done. And the number of horses where it hasn't been done would really shock you.
Yeah, I know. I would imagine I see a lot coming through here, and a lot of them that come from the track actually are overfloated. That's one thing that we've noticed with a lot of them when they would first come in, they're just overfloated at the track. They just get really grind them down. So it's definitely been a thing here. Like sometimes I have to wait. They still need to be looked at, and they get looked at when they go to the rescue. But a lot of times they are overfloated, which is just crazy. The horse that I'm talking about, hey, I've had him 15 years. His previous owner had him 15 years. So like he has had everything, but he's just
had really good care. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things.
Draft horses are predisposed to, bad teeth, unfortunately. And the other thing we've got to remember, again, not to be Debbie Downer, but horses weren't actually designed to live to be 33 or 35.
Yes, I will just stop you because this one lives forever. Duke is going to live forever.
Duke will live forever. Duke will live forever on his mash, and it is completely admirable what you're doing. Yes. And his bamboo salt. I think Duke also needs the bamboo salt. But we just have to, our senior horses are a task because their bodies were actually not designed to keep functioning at that age and stage of life. So all we can do is the best we can, and, keep on top of the dentistry, keep on top of the parasites, keep on top of the hydration, and try to keep your diet as consistent and truly gut friendly as possible. And that will save you a lot of heartache. Unfortunately, horses will still colic. I see horses with the very best of care. I've seen plenty of horses in my own barn, where I would think that I should really know what I'm doing and be doing a good job. And sometimes it just happens, things like strangulating lipomas in a senior horse, which will twist around the gut. And most of the time can certainly be a death sentence. There's nothing anybody can do to prevent that. And even with surgical intervention, a lot of times we're unsuccessful. So Colic, there's a lot we can do to prevent it, but then there's also a lot we can do where unfortunately there's nothing we can do.
That brings us to Poseidon Animal Health. What do you have that would help with that?
Yeah, so for a lot of the causes that we've talked about in terms of maintaining hydration status and also dealing with changes of diet, that's where you actually can really do some prevention. So we make a product called Digestive HP, which is a complete gut health supplement. So it does the stomach all the way through to the hindgut. And in particular, in terms of preventing colic, really strengthening that microbiome and making sure that microbiome is robust and is going to be able to withstand changes in feed. Because like you said, we do see changes in feed. We see hay changes, we see grain changes, we see changes in the pasture. That's not something horses are actually designed to cope with. And it certainly can be one of the contributing factors to colic. So doing that is really important, keeping that microbiome as robust as we can. And then we also make a product called Stress Paste, which is an oral paste that can be given anytime. It's completely natural, drug-free, but it contains a really cool ingredient called betaine, which actually maintains cellular hydration and helps keep horses from getting dehydrated in the gut, because one of their evolutionary predispositions is that when they're in a fight or flight state, they pull fluid out of their gut to go to their blood supply. Well, they still do this even though they're no longer being chased by lions. They do it in the trailer, they do it at new places, they do it when they get a new neighbor, but that leads to them not being as hydrated, and that can lead to colic. And the other thing we've put in Stress Paste are some B vitamins, which actually encourage horses to eat and drink. And that's something that we see reduced in times of stress. So I love to use Stress Paste whenever I'm going to make a change in my horse's life, whether that's traveling, competition, or feed. And I also love to use Stress Paste as soon as I see a colic. So if I've got a horse that maybe they're pawing a little bit, they're not interested in their bowl, and I'm going to call the vet, I would whack a Stress Paste in them straight away. And the number of horses that I see come through a mild case of colic just with a Stress Paste is amazing. While we're waiting for the vet, or the vet gets out there and they go, oh, actually, it looks really good now. They go back to eating, drinking, they pass manure, resolves gas. So it's something I think everybody should keep in their tack trunk. Like I said, it's all natural. You can give it while you're waiting for the vet to come, and it really helps just coat that stomach and stabilize the microbiome and work on that hydration status. So those are the two things we do that you can include to help prevent colic, alongside the other really important things: teeth, deworming, salt. Don't make big changes. Don't give bran mashes once a week.
And they can get that right on the website of Poseidon Animal Health.
Absolutely, they can.
I wanted to mention, too, you have a presentation coming up at the World Equestrian Center this month, don't you?
I do, yeah. So I'm actually going to do one on the 12th of February at the World Equestrian Center. That is at 6 o'clock at night, and we're doing that in conjunction with Triple Crown Feed. And it's open to the public. Anyone can come. So if you want to jump on down to that we're also doing another presentation on the 15th of February at the All for the Horses Expo at the World Equestrian Center. And that's going to be a great weekend. The All for the Horses Expo is full of vendors for all different horsey things: feed, supplements, gear, artwork, everything. And then there will be a series of talks on the Saturday afternoon. Mine is at 2 p.m., but there's educational opportunities all afternoon on Saturday. So that's free to come. And yeah, I'd love to see people there, and we'll do some education. We're going to talk about nutrition and stress in horses, which all of our horses deal with stress except for Glenn's, because they get the bamboo salt. So they're fine.
Right. No. I've actually done a little more research, and I really think that the two salts that you should work on is the Hawaiian black lava salt that comes out of.
Go. Yes.
Yeah, it's in a volcano, has infused with activated charcoal. And then there's also, Glenn, the Persian blue salt that's produced in the ancient salt mines in Iran. So
that can't be cheap.
No, that can't be cheap. But I would wager probably still cheaper than colic surgery.
Yeah, maybe a little.
I personally would go with the Hawaiian salt, because that just sounds like it would also be relaxing. It's going to have like a tropical vibe to it. But maybe you should get one of each. And I would definitely wager that is going to be cheaper than a colic surgery still.
Yeah. I agree.
Everybody else, though, just splurge on the Himalayan
I'm
salt.
thinking about trying to make that bamboo salt here because we have a lot of bamboo in Florida, and I need something to do in retirement. So I'll just make bamboo salt.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I think so.
This is going to be how you make your fortune.
That's
fund.
it. And I'll contact you guys for distribution, okay?
Distribution. Well, I think you should get ready, have a stand at the All for the Horses Expo, February 15th and 16th. And let's
better
start
get
getting
roasted.
out there.
We got to go. Talk to you later, Erin.
Glenn's busy.
Thanks.